What's up, Who Dat Nation, and welcome into Saints Daily. This is your home for everything to do with the black and gold. My name is Tim, and we are officially 1 week away from day two of the NFL draft. Today, what I want to jump right into are some day three picks that aren't getting a lot of love, but after doing some research on their careers, I think have some high upside. Think of the players like a Danny Stutzman that Saints fans get super excited for, or a Quincy Riley that Saints fans get super excited for, even though they were day three picks. As you're heading into any offseason or any training program after watching a season with them getting some valuable snaps, you have high hopes for. One of those players in this draft, I believe, is Chandler Rivers. And this is a guy we've talked about already, but just a reminder, he's the cornerback from Duke. He's currently projected to be a day three, maybe a round three or four player. But just some statistics from his college career really stand out to me, including the fact that he had almost 3,200 snaps across 4 seasons with Duke, and he only allowed one touchdown pass against whenever he was in coverage. He's had less than an 85 passer rating whenever he's been targeted for the last 3 seasons. He did have a very, very strong 2024 to the point where this time last year, people were saying this guy might be a first round pick in the coming season. Unfortunately, he did take a slight step back. He still played very well overall, but just not to the same level that you saw him play in 2024. One of the best things about this prospect, in my eyes, is the fact that over the last 3 seasons, he's only been flagged 4 times. He only has 4 penalties against him, not just accepted penalties, just flags thrown because of him. 4 times in the last 3 years. I love Alontae Taylor. I love Paulson Adebo, and I think that what they provided this team for a while was way better play than their draft position showed. But they were both known for taking some penalties. So getting a guy that might be able to come in, probably play slot. He did play 70% of his snaps on the outside. He's a little bit smaller, so he'll probably be someone that would play in the slot in the NFL. At least that's what he's projected to do at this point in time. So I wouldn't expect him to be an outside corner, but still somebody who can come in, learn the slot position, take some time to get ramped up, doesn't take a lot of dumb penalties, doesn't have to automatically give the team a first down on a 3rd and 15 because you bump a little bit too hard or you're holding at the breaking point of a route, right? He was good in man and zone throughout his entire college career. Again, somebody who would probably be playing inside because of his size means that he might not necessarily be ready to take on running backs at this point in his career. And it's not a willingness thing, it's kind of just a size and strength thing. So this might be a guy that you bring in, you let him play some snaps at nickel or maybe a star role kind of thing, get him ramped up, knowing that he might not be somebody who's going to wrap up players as well as you would hope that he can out the gate. Think of a Marcus Williams where maybe some missed tackles were common and then you really work on it and then he gets more sure-fired in the sense of being able to actually wrap up a guy and bring them down. The second guy that I've been looking into a lot is the TCU linebacker Caleb Elarms-Orr. Again, another third or fourth round pick. Just his stats last year alone really tell a story that makes me very interested in this player to the point where I kind of hope the Saints really do target him, especially if they don't go Sonny Styles or Arvell Reese in the first round. Just some statistics for him. He was the first team All Big 12 Conference linebacker. He was ranked ninth in the FBS with 130 tackles, and he led the team with 11 tackles for loss and 4 sacks. He did start all 13 games, and he also had 2 pass breakups during that time. The knock on him and the reason why he's not a day one, day two pick is his zone coverage is not necessarily great. He has shown the ability to play sideline to sideline, play off ball linebacker, and also be a very effective blitzer as well. So he's somebody who can come in and definitely, at the very least, contribute on special teams day one, while he might continue to be developed into a linebacker who could play some valuable snaps for you. Obviously, if you get somebody in day three that would end up being a starter, that is a huge win So I'm not saying that either of these two players are full-time starters, people who are going to be on your roster playing as a rookie, as a starter, and getting a long-term contract as your starter. But it's not out of the possibility. These two players are high upside, but they also do have the floor of, hey, this guy might just not be big enough and physical enough to play in the NFL. Then when it comes to Elam's or his coverage ability might be a liability to the point where you can't put him on the field on defense on passing downs, and he would have to either be a blitz specialist or a rundown specialist, and that's not someone that you want to draft specifically early in day three. But those two players are players that I personally have enjoyed just learning a little bit more about, watching some film on, which obviously when you look at highlight tapes or anything like that, you can make anybody look great. But there's something about Chandler Rivers that just screams to me that this guy is going to be a steal for whoever drafts him. The next topic that I want to go into real quick is the Jordyn Tyson conversation. It is ramping up. Everything that I'm seeing online is saying Jordyn Tyson or Ruben Bain is probably who the Saints are zeroing in on at this point during the draft. And we're going to get to some comments that Kellen Moore made later on in this episode, but Jordyn Tyson is just very enticing and intriguing as a fan because when you look at the wide receivers in this draft class, it is very clear that he is the most talented wide receiver in this group. The only reason why he is not a top five pick in this draft is because he does come with injury concerns. When you have those concerns in college, they usually amplify in the NFL. Now, Marshawn Lattimore, very similar. He had hamstring issues, he had soft tissue issues in college, and the Saints still drafted him. I'm sure they don't regret that draft pick whatsoever. If they look at Jordyn Tyson and these scouts and this medical staff says we can get ahead of the issues that he has, that might be something that you really take into account for this pick. This team needs to get a playmaker on offense. I know I've said it multiple times that I think the wide receiver room is better than most people give it credit for, and that is with the lottery picks that they have in Palmer and Polk, and I also am a big Vele believer, but if you can get a Jordyn Tyson on this roster, make Vele your three, Chris Olave your one, Tyson your two, that is a very good receiving core, and that'll help out this young quarterback continue to grow. Some stats about Tyson, he's 6'2", 200 pounds, so that's actually pretty good for a 6'2" wide receiver. 200 pounds is pretty big. His play style is along the lines of a Terry McLaurin, where he's not going to wow you in his route running, but when the ball's in the air, he's gonna get it. He just has this natural ability when you watch, just if you haven't watched his film, if you haven't watched the highlight of Arizona State games, put any of those Arizona State games on that he played in last year, and you just really see his athleticism just jump off the board. It's really hard to compare him to anybody, really. He's very unique in the way that he plays the game. He seems to stay on the outside. Just as weird as it's gonna sound to say, the way he just levitates whenever he jumps. I mean, he looks like no matter how high that ball is thrown, no matter what is needed, he can go up and get it. And it's the first time, and I hate making comparisons like this, but it's the first time really since Calvin Johnson that I've seen a player just when the ball is up, this man is going to come down with it or nobody is. And it's hard to really put into words what that feels like, but when you watch him, he's more physical than you would expect at the point of catch. He's much better with the ball in his hands than he gets credit for. And he does a very good job of being that red zone target and that blanket that quarterbacks need to succeed. Like I said, though, unfortunately, he does come with these injury concerns. He tore his ACL, his MCL, and his PCL in 2022 when he was on Colorado, and essentially redshirted all of 2023. He played in 3 games as a reserve, and I don't see any stats to his name. In 2024, he was third team AP All American, and first team All Big 12 conference, so he came back healthy. He had 1,100 receiving yards on 75 receptions and 10 touchdowns in 2024, and he started 12 games. But again, unfortunately, another injury ended his season short. He missed the Big 12 championship game by breaking his collarbone. And then in 2025, once again, led his team in receptions and yards, 61 receptions, 711 yards, 8 touchdowns, but he only played in 9 games because he missed four with separate hamstring issues. It wasn't just one hamstring issue that nagged and went into 4 games. This was separate hamstring issues, and he hurt both of them last year. The Saints have a history of targeting a guy who has all the talent in the world and ignoring maybe some of these red flags. So a player like Tyson seems to make a little bit too much sense to me. And it wouldn't be a shock to me to see the Saints really interested in him and thinking that this is the guy. If he can stay healthy, this guy could genuinely be a top 10 wide receiver in the NFL. And if you can get a Tyson along with Olave, this offense unlocks in ways that we haven't seen in a long time with the New Orleans Saints. So I'm interested to know what you all think. Is Tyson worth the gamble at 8? Would you rather them trade down and maybe see if he's available later on, or get him a Kai Lemon if a team like the Cowboys is interested in trading up to 8 and the Saints could get a pick 12 out of it? Let me know in the comments below what you're hoping to see the Saints do in the first round, and if Jordyn Tyson is starting to become as appealing to you as he's becoming to me. Up next, it was officially announced that Marques Colston is going to announce both of the day 2 picks in the NFL. I know we just talked about Jordyn Tyson, but it kind of is standing out to me that maybe this is a hint that the Saints are interested at a round 2 or 3 wide receiver in the NFL draft that's coming up here. It is potentially a cool story if that's the case, getting drafted by Marques Colston, right? Or announced by Marques Colston that you were drafted to the Saints if you're a wide receiver, especially if you're a Chris Bell who has a lot of similar traits. Um, I know we all know the story about Marques Colston, the seventh round pick who just became a legend with the Saints within his first year. And I kind of like the message this does send, whether it's intentional or not, that it doesn't take a first round pick to become a legend, not only in the NFL, but with the Saints. This is a team that a lot of their all-time legends were not first round picks. We went through the Mount Rushmore, right? Drew Brees wasn't drafted by the Saints. He's a second round pick. He is the only person on every Saints fan's Mount Rushmore, right? There's always arguments for who could make it after Breeze, and I think a lot of people agree on the next two, and then the third, the fourth one, like with a Kamara or a Cam Jordan, those are up for debate. But you don't have to be a first round pick to be a legend. And this is absolutely the case for Colston, who came in, had six 1,000 yard receiving seasons with the Saints, Super Bowl 44 champions, 711 receptions, 9,759 yards, and 72 touchdowns, retired with every single Saints wide receiver record that you can think of. He was the epitome of any given Sunday, and that this league is for anybody. And it's exciting to see that the guy who I don't think I heard him speak more than 10 words when he was on the Saints coming and drafting day 2 picks for the Saints. I'm excited to see it happen. I'm excited to see Colston make these picks. I'm excited to see who he gets to introduce to be a New Orleans Saint. All right, I kind of teased it a little bit ago about what Kellen Moore has been saying lately. There was an interview done, and there's some talking points that I want to get into about what Kellen Moore has said about the draft. And you can see here on the tagline, the main thing that he said is there's a lot of ways that this thing can go. And as a Saints fan, you have seen every scenario and every mock where they either stay put, they're trading up, they're trading down. So many rumors lately have the Saints trading up because that's what they're known for. Arvell Reese is someone that's been linked to the Saints a lot because this is a guy that may be a trade up sparking conversation. And this is something that the Saints have done in the past where they target that uber talented defensive player because they believe they're one piece away. Now, I don't think the Saints are one piece away, but that doesn't mean that Mickey Loomis and Jeff Ireland and Kellen Moore don't think the Saints are one piece away. So there's really no reason to think that there is absolutely nothing on the table for this team. Another quote is, "We're still learning our team. The coaching staff is still evaluating the rosters. There's really nobody that's fully set on what strengths and weaknesses that this team currently has." And he really suggested at a long-term build for this mindset. So it's always, again, we talked about it a little bit yesterday, always so enticing and just so easy to only focus on the next year. So at this point in time, it's so easy to just focus on 2027 and not really think about anything outside of what 2027, what happens with this draft class in terms of 2027. But you have to make sure that you are looking at this for more than just 1 year. And it sounds like, based off of this article, based off of what I'm reading, that Kellen Moore understands that as well, and that this is more like a team that is building for the future rather than a team that's pushing to go all in right now. He also said that we have to build this the right way and hinted at focusing on development over quick fixes, and that the draft is a foundation and not a patchwork, which it kind of was hinted at that's what free agency was for. So again, to me, that means that they're prioritizing sustainability and long-term impacts over the immediate impact that you can get with filling a need rather than drafting the best player available. The last quote I want to talk about was, he said, quote, "Balancing best player available and need is what they are focusing on." So again, it seems like they're not forcing positions, regardless if it's round two or round one, all the way through round seven. It sounds like he has a very clear mindset that this team needs to focus on the fact that there are some positions that you probably don't need to worry about drafting. You probably don't need to find a starting quarterback, assuming Tyler Shuck is what we all think he is after what we saw last year. You probably don't need to go with running back. But at the same time, you have a balance of best player available and what you need right now. And you don't have to focus on one or the other. This team has enough holes to fill exactly what you need in this draft class, especially with it being deeper at wide receiver and edge rusher, which are the two of the positions that this team is very short on. So I can see this team really going BPA, best player available, with almost every single pick. Good Nation, I am always interested to see what you think, so please leave any comments, whether you agree or disagree. I would love to know your thoughts. If you enjoyed this video, press that subscribe button and drop us a like. Please share this with your friends, and as always, we'll catch you next time.